Fresno, California, number 18, Hot Sauce Giovanni Scelzi.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a new Scelzi Says, and we a first beer episode. We're congratulations to Gio. Got the big win in North Dakota over the weekend. Got a new friend here as well, Brock Zearfoss. He's no stranger to the sprint car scene. Welcome to the studio, man.
Yeah, it's a cool deal you guys do. So it's good to be getting on here and do a little bullshitting.
Well, there's going to be a lot of that. That's all we do.
Definitely.
First of all, Gio, good. You had a great weekend.
Yeah, it was solid. To win at Grand Forks, that's a huge fan engagement racetrack up there. They love the World of Outlaws, and Ogilvy's a new track for us, the second year going there, but it's a cool place too. So
I was so pissed because I thought you were going to win, and you're
Ogilvy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're on the pole, and
I started fourth, but yeah, close.
The race you won?
Oh no, I won. Yeah, Grand Forks. Yeah,
Grand Forks. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was getting the tracks
mixed up. You're good.
Well, you're on the pole, and Aiden, you can play some of the video if you want from our friends at Dirt Vision. But you're on the pole, and then it rains.
Yeah,
and like the sun's out. It was the weirdest shit that I've ever seen. But because that changes everything, right?
For sure. I mean, it was kind of wet. It rained during the night. Which made the track way faster than normal. Guys went out early qualifying, got screwed. But the rain, it started sprinkling, and I'm like, dude, don't fucking stop. Let's go. Because we stopped for the sun. The sun was really bad on the backstretch. So we're like, hey, can't see. We're right around for a few laps.
Yeah, you had a rain and sun delay. Yeah.
And it's like, let's go. Once we get racing, we'll be fine. Then it rained and rained more. And then you got water running off the wing. And it's like, all right, let's postpone this to later. And it's like, we're driving 5 hours overnight. How long can we really wait? Everyone's here. So it was, they did a good job. The Outlaws ran it through as quick as they possibly could, but it was definitely fast in the feature.
So you also had a moment in there when Sheldon passed you, right?
Yep.
What happens? What's going on in your head at that point? And then you got him right back.
Yeah. So I've never gotten the full Grand Forks experience. Normally it's slick right to the edge of the racetrack, right around the bottom, but it was fast all night. In the bottom, I feel like if it had enough grip, you could run it, make speed down there because they have taken bacon away from that place. But, I was running as hard as I really could. I got to gravel to lap him, which is weird. And then
and you couldn't pass him.
No, and I knew he was setting a fast enough pace. He would kind of move the lappers out of the way, and I could sneak by him too. And then I saw Sheldon do what Sheldon does and run around me. I was like, man, if he gets down in front of me, the race is over. I'll just run second. And he got tight there into one. I think gravel kind of ran in the middle. He veered off his right rear, and I got back by him and just thought, man, I kept getting tighter and tighter as the race went. And if I could never get off the bottom, I think they were going to drive around me. So kind of stuck to the course and never actually got by gravel. But I knew if he set a good enough pace, if we were clogging the bottom up enough, no one could rip around us.
Then you went to Eagle, which is my favorite track in the world.
Yep.
We're in 10th? Ninth. Okay.
Yep.
Is what you ended up. Yeah, and then Brock, so you're here. Obviously, we have a huge weekend coming up with the Outlaws being at Knoxville, and it's also a huge NASCAR weekend. So I'm anticipating massive crowds.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously with NASCAR being not even an hour, I don't think, an hour away, and plenty of time there. I think for sure there's could be fans, even new ones, hopefully that come down and watch us race. And obviously Knoxville being the mecca of sprint car racing, sprint car capital, I think it'd be a really good race for them to see. Obviously there's some shitholes out there that
Eagle
go to.
No, not Eagle.
That's my track.
No, it's not. It's not.
But there's some racetracks out there that probably wouldn't put on good racing, and probably would put a bad taste in their mouth or whatever. But Knoxville never really does that. So
hands down the best half mile we go to racing wise.
Oh, for sure.
Eldora race is really good, but Knoxville you can almost guarantee 3 lanes, and they've put new dirt on it this year, but they figured out how to get it to race good.
Then it'll be so there's no high limit.
Everyone will be there.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah. It's gonna be like Saturday night at the Nationals.
Initial count, I think, was 65 cars.
Yeah,
they're thinking.
Yeah,
which will be every bit of it. I
figured 65 to 70, probably get a couple of stragglers here or there, but 65 is still a lot.
I do want to, Aiden, would you do me a favor? Go to the Knoxville Raceway Twitter page. They put up a map, a little public service announcement here for people, because there are a bunch of road closures. This is terrible timing for the Iowa DOT to do this. But like half the roads between Newton and Knoxville are closed right now.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have all these race fans going from one to the other. Because my plan is to just go and watch Cup practice and Xfinity practice tomorrow, and then I'm gonna drive down to Knoxville. But Aiden will pull that up, and you guys can see it. But look at that. The main road between Newton and Knoxville is shut down. I believe that's Highway 14. So trying to alert people of that. But Brock, so you're staying in Knoxville. You see, you're a Pennsylvania guy. So you just hang out at Dingus all the time. What do you do when you're in Knoxville?
Now that honestly, like if you've gone there, if you've been in Knoxville outside of nationals, it's really a dead town. Like there's really not much happening at all. And I think we were in Dingus one time trying to be like a local guy, and I think there might have been 5 people. So it's pretty low, it's pretty low key. But now we stay at Tony and Katie Schilling's house. They have a shop house that we're allowed to rent, and so Tony used to race back in the day. He used to run Knoxville, and obviously had kids and other things started happening, and got out of it and started his family, built a new house, and we were just lucky. I fell into it. In 2018, we were coming to nationals for our first time, and Noisy Shane Bowers, he was our crew chief at the time, and he always had a house that he rented. So we were looking for something that we could kind of maybe keep the trailer at and work inside, because the nationals time, you never know what weather you're going to get. It could be 110 degrees or it could be 60. So most of the time it's hotter than hell. But so we were looking for some place that we could kind of keep inside, and instead of working out in I think it was the Goodwill at the time or something like that, but across the street there where everybody parks. So there was always a waiting list, but with Noisy, we were fortunate to get in there that one year. But we were looking around and found a place there with Schillings and just kind of stuck. So we got in there. They're really great people, took good care of us. And when we came on the road in 21, I'd talked to them about possibly just kind of basing ourselves out of the Midwest, because with the way our schedule is, going to Pennsylvania every week is not feasible. I mean, you can do it, but you're going to spend twice as much money to do it. So fortunately they allowed us to stay there, and it just gives a little bit of like a homely type feel. So it's better than sitting in a hotel every week. And we drive back there a lot. I always think we stay there probably 4 months out of the year now. So
really?
Yeah, we're here quite often. So it works out really good. Like I said, it gives us a homely type feel, and we don't want to kill each other and being stuck in the hotel rooms every night. So we get a little bit of separation.
So Gio, I'll let you kind of take the reins, but what I'm interested in Brock's deal is owning his own race team. Like that, to me, is just, it's admirable. It's fascinating. And we were talking before you got here. I was giving Gio shit, everybody. He showed up late, and I said, "You win a race, and now you're gonna keep us waiting." No, but you gotta have so much passion. Like, to me, like that's what it. Like, nobody's getting rich off of this deal, but what made you take the leap? I guess as a car owner, as a driver, now you're a crew chief too, to say I wanted to go national. Because I mean, you could have stayed up in the Pennsylvania area and made decent money up there. What made you take that jump?
I mean, my name's on the side of the trailer, but it's still a family team. It's not just me, it's my parents and a whole lot of, we have partners, but at the end of the day, it's still, my parents putting the bill. So obviously without them guys, I wouldn't be racing, period. But I mean, obviously we had our family team. We were racing, we hired Jim Shuttlesworth in 16, and he really turned our program around and won the championship at Port Royal in 17. So we really started getting good right around that time, and started getting acknowledged and people looking at us. And that's where I met Noisy. And in 2018, we went to, I think it was Destiny Motorsports and raced there. So, I ran there for a year, I believe. I think it was a year. I don't even know if it was a full year, but it just didn't work out. And Noisy came with us, and we started our team back up and kind of ran our own deal again. And we ran the All-Star deal. And
I remember that
from my beginning of my racing career, I've always wanted to run World of Outlaws. So like I grew up racing or watching races in the infield of Williams Grove, making my own little dirt track in the infield and just doing whatever, watching, Sammy, Donnie, all them guys, Steve. And, that's what I wanted to do. And, I've always had that dream. And when I was working a regular job, I always joked with my bosses. I said, this is my part-time job here, because when I get a chance to go racing, I'm going. So I was just straightforward with them. And 18, I got that opportunity, and I told him, I said, hey, remember I told you about that deal? This is a part-time job. I said, well, it's coming to an end. So, but I left on good terms. And
what were you doing?
At that time, I was doing I was ammonia refrigeration. So I worked on ammonia compressors for like Hershey Foods and ice cream, or cold storages, like extreme cold.
So
like
you're fixing stuff.
We're fixing stuff. I was I was certified welder, so I was doing the install and the service side. I was learning both, and I really enjoyed it. But racing was obviously my passion, so I wanted to make a career out of that. And I always told him, I said, this is what I want to do for my job. This is how I want to make a living. And I said, this here is just kind of helping me get to that point. So had an opportunity to do it in 18 and been doing it ever since. And it's been kind of a rough road, like not rough, but kind of up and down. And 19 we went with Peak Grove, and that deal that just didn't work out at all either. But after that, we just kind of were like, let's just focus on doing our own thing. We control our own destiny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't have to worry about, this car owner is being mad about this for some reason, or, and I think if the right situation comes around, yeah, it might be different. But, when you get into a situation where it's just sloppy, it's just, it doesn't make it fun. So, we built our team up, and our goal was to run the All-Stars for a year, kind of get going, get everything built up, and then we were going to go outlaw racing. And 21 came around, and that's what we did. So, it's a lot of hard work, and sometimes I feel like we're behind a little bit, just for we have to think about spending differently. So we can't, it's just, I mean, some of these teams out here they can just throw a check out, and that's what it is. But and I'm not taking anything away from that, but
yeah,
our situation is different, and
it's just like any sport.
It is
with a salary cap, or some teams can beat
that. We beat the Outlaws already. We've been them with my own team. I beat them with another team. So with Aaron Long, I mean, Aaron Long's deal was we had one car, one motor, a little trailer. Like we had like one of everything, man. And we went and won. We won the Outlaw race in 17 there at Williams Grove, and that was cool as shit. I mean, we were the smallest trailer in the pits. It was basically an open trailer, just had a box around it. So, but it was such a great deal. And like I said, in 17 was kind of the year that I kind of started getting recognized. But a lot of people, they doubt me, they doubt my driving, and because we don't have the best finishes, but it's not for lack of trying. Like our stuff is good enough to win. But we're working on it, like our engine package needed tuned. Like we needed to work on that stuff. And I was really good for Pennsylvania, but once we got on the road, we're like, man, we really need to kind of upgrade some shit here. It's like, we need to time trial better and do all this other stuff. Like our stuff races really good, but you can't time 15th every night and win the race. So, and back in the day, it made it look like we were a good time trialer because we did time 15th, but they inverted 16. So you'd be on the front row of the heat race, you make the dash, and you run good. So it kind of, once they changed that format to heads up, I mean, it really showed that we needed to upgrade our packages. So, that's what we've been working on, and it just takes time, and, we're just trying to do it one thing at a time. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really tough deal, and a lot of people don't understand how tough it is. I mean, how tough it is, but
no doubt
it's it's hard to try and build a program or rebuild something and change things and go out and perform at the same time, because we can't go testing. Like my testing is like, oh, well, what are we going to do tonight? We're at a new track. Let's try something here. Oh shit, that didn't work. Well, now we're fucked, So it's tough, man. And you race against the best cars every night, and you cannot mess up at all. So, I mean, it makes it difficult, but I mean,
and there's just good local racing across the country too.
Yeah. I mean, you go anywhere anymore, the fields that we get, I mean, there's people that are traveling now that didn't travel before, that were good cars. I mean, there's more people just traveling because we're paying a little more money, and it's getting difficult. I feel like sprint car racing now is probably the best it's been in, I'd say, 10 years at least. That's the toughest it's been.
It's deeper, isn't it?
It's deep.
I agree 100%. Brock, how old are you?
33.
33. So you've been racing since 1999.
Yep, I'm old.
That's older than I am.
I know.
I was born 2001, which is crazy because I don't
God.
really view us that different in age. You
No.
know, like, I mean, you hang out with a guy enough, you feel like you feel the
You guys
same
are,
age as them.
I'm turning 40 in 2 weeks. What are you doing
a
to
couple
me?
more gray hairs. You didn't get that part yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
just
yet.
wait till you don't got any of
No
it.
shit. I'm looking. I'm not judging.
So how do you feel that local Pennsylvania racing has changed since when you were there to now? Because I feel like then you had Hodnet, Deweese, a lot of Fred was probably still doing it then at his end of his career. But I feel like now, the divide between the traveling guys and the local guys is only getting bigger. When there's not that bridge to run the All-Stars, like you said, I think you race in PA enough, you win those local races at the weird formats where it's, not qualify format or a big invert format. Then you come in an outlaw show, like Dietrich even struggles, I feel like. And he's one of the best guys out there now. Won the National Open, won the Weicker race or whatever it was a couple weeks ago. I think, how have you seen it change from when you were getting into it to now?
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's kind of separated itself a little more than what it was. I mean, I feel like when I was racing back home, you had Brent, like you said, all them guys, Hodnet, all them were racing still, and it was hard to race them. It was hard to race on a local level with them guys. I mean, you race them every week, but they made you race harder. You know what I mean? And that aspect is kind of gone to the wayside, I feel like, at home. And you still got Danny and Freddie and them guys there, but there's really not that many guys that race for a team at home in Pennsylvania anymore. It's all family-owned teams, and and I'm not taking anything away from them guys. They still can get the job done, but I feel like the intensity level has kind of dropped off a little bit there. And I feel like what am I trying to say? The invert racing, it needs to go away. I mean, you just need to time trial anymore, because all these big paying shows are time trial races, and it just hurts the local team because they don't do it.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
So, and that's where it really shows. Like when we go into town, we're always time trialing. We're always on kill. And, them guys are there, they're just like, well, okay, well, I'm going to start 5th in this heat race, so I just need to run here. It's like, no, you need time.
Yeah, look at before the outlaw shows, there's an outlaw warm-up race. Why aren't they all outlaw warm-up races?
Honestly, it doesn't take any more time.
I agree. And I get it. You want a guy that might not time as good. Hey, I hit the invert good, but if you're looking at it that way, I know guys work a whole week and they have the race cars on the weekends, but if you're banking on an invert to start up front can I hold on for 20 laps? It's not a good way of racing. And I get some guys can't compete with us. I totally understand that. And we need the local car count, which I think is another problem too. It's dwindling, I feel like. And like you said, the divide is becoming bigger between the traveling teams and the local teams for money and time and stuff. But you rarely see a guy work a refrigeration job or work a 9 to 5 that can roll in. The gates don't open at the Grove till 6 or 5 or 6 o'clock. You literally roll in, engine heaters on, race, which is awesome, I think. But it helps the guys that work a 9 to 5. They literally get off work at 2 or 3 o'clock on Friday, go race Williams Grove, which is, you don't see it anymore now. Like, I feel like fitness probably hasn't affected, I'm not saying we're fat. I mean, we aren't, but it hasn't affected sprint car racing as much as it's affected golf, F1, NASCAR, IndyCar. Those guys are jacked. You don't see John Daly driving an IndyCar. No. You just don't see it anymore. And I think it does affect us.
You see him driving a late model, though.
I see him at the casino.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You got to tell that story today.
So we're gambling on a Wednesday night at like 4, which is obviously when you gamble, right? I mean, when else are you going to gamble?
4 a.m.?
No, 4 in the afternoon. Okay. I'm sure he was there till 4 a.m. But we, me, my coroner were there, and my girlfriend were there. We're all playing, hanging out. And I go out, check on my dog. She's in the truck. And I roll in, and I'm pretty sure I was like, oh my God, that's fucking John Daly. I'm pretty sure I said that. And he's sitting there. I'm like, I mean, I haven't met like celebrities, but I'm like, dude, this is fucking cool. And he was in full gamble mode. He's got a stack of 100 here, stack of 100 there, just slamming hundreds in each machine. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be the guy to be like, oh my God, it's fucking John Daly, because I was that guy for sure. But he didn't want to be bothered. I got a selfie with him. He was cool, but I think he finished 72nd out of 75 people at the Des Moines PGA Champions Tour.
I saw that.
So he was practicing in the casino. There's no button on the golf course.
If he wasn't dead last, he was close.
Yeah, I think the winning score was like 25 under, and he was like 3 or 4 over. So. But I mean, he doesn't need to. That's how he's been his whole life. But
he don't give a shit.
No, you don't see that anymore in golf. No. You don't. When's the last time you see golf with a belly? No. You just don't. I mean, I play 1 round, 2 days in a row of golf, and I'm done. Yeah. It's hot outside. I can't do it. They play 4 in a row.
Okay, on that note, you guys, again, I'm trying to explain. So Brock, like, I'm a racing nut. Okay, like I'm obsessed with it. that was my real passion. And then I just didn't pursue it. Okay. But now I've done enough where I can do it for fun. Like that's where we're at. I'm trying to explain to these young friends of mine who I'm trying to get them into racing, like all these different disciplines and stuff. Right. And I was explaining to one the other night, I'm like, yeah, the sprint car drivers, they're all these like little guys who could probably kick your ass. And then I show them late model drivers. And
They're
for the most
massive.
part, yeah, they're just pudgy.
They're either
Yeah.
like 6'5", 260,
Yeah.
or like
And they get in a
5'5",
door this
300.
big. I don't know how.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
What is it about the disciplines that attracts you guys? Because I get it. Like there's the physical thing. Like John Daly couldn't fit in a sprint car, like physically. But what is it about the late model that attracts? You know, Scott Bloomquist can still wheel one around at 70 or whatever, however freaking old he is.
I mean, a sprint car weighs 1,400 pounds. A late model is probably over 2,000, I would think.
I
Is
think
it
they
that
gotta be, I
is
think
just
they got
the
to be
size?
2,400 pounds.
Yeah,
or something
so
like that.
you're 1,000 pounds heavier, and they have different length suspension. You know, they get so much more grip through the race car, not so much through the wing like we do. So, and they lift the left side up. So I'm sure they have it all dialed in. How much you weigh, where you block it, or however you set the springs. I don't either. I have no idea. But I mean, you know, to drag racing, Austin Prock took Robert Height's spot this year. Robert Height was probably 210 pounds. Austin was about 170. So they were always about 40 pounds overweight. Those things are carbon fiber, titanium, or carbon brakes, the whole 9 yards. And they've gone a little bit faster with him in the car. You figure you're all worried about balance. I mean, you're overpowered a bit. You spin the tires, smoke the tires. So that's affected their race car a lot. And with drag racing, you got Matt Hagan, who's probably 250 pounds, is just as fast.
He's
so
massive.
He is
dude.
massive.
He's
Yes.
massive.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see, like at Ogilvy, I went and looked at, they write down our scale or how much we weigh after every car in qualifying just to keep track of all of them. And everyone's anywhere from 40 to 50 pounds overweight. Because for us, if you qualify with 5 to 8 gallons, 5-6 gallons, because when you get to 1 or 2, the fuel might sputter, you might not pick up. So, I mean, you obviously want to get as close as you can. But, you know, for us, from brand new rear tires to bald rear tires still mounted is about 40 pounds. So you go to a race where it's rubber down, there's a lot of yellows, you run out of fuel, methanol is 7 pounds a gallon. So you got 30 gallons back there, that's 200 and some pounds. You're out of fuel, out of tires, you are light. You're done, you get disqualified. So it's happened before.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I think you want to be as close as you can qualifying, but you're on new tires qualifying and you have fuel qualifying, and there's mud on the car.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for us to get that stuff close. And I mean, you're setting up scales on dirt. How they are accurate with the Outlaws, I feel like, but they could be 5-6 pounds one direction. That could be, if you're 1 pound light, you're disqualified. Yeah. So the weight of the driver affects it. Where you block the car. Dominic is probably 220, 230 pounds, and they run that car way different than I do. So like Rico Abreu probably has some of the best balance because he's 4 foot tall. He's probably 100 pounds, and his A-frame's 4 inches further forward. His feet damn near sit above the torque tube. So he's not only the safest from getting hit by something, but that balance goes further forward. You go from Ricky Warner racing with Donnie Schatz, who's probably 200 pounds, a guy that sits normally in the A-frame, and Ricky's figure out how to get that thing to go forward. So your wing placement matters. You know, as the fuel load burns off, you figure you stick a 200-pound weight in the back of a car, it's going to sag a little bit. So at the end of the race, where you win the race, obviously the last lap, your wing's going to be back trying to get the rear tires squeezed in the ground. So much more goes into it than just going around and gassing up around the racetrack.
Is Austin McCarl the biggest guy?
I'd say he's probably either tall. Him and Dale Blaney are probably neck and neck for height.
Yeah. I mean, Dale, like had his seat bar moved down. He ran a LaJoy seat, so his butt was kind of rounded, so he's not sitting up. He's kind of sitting slouch a little bit. And he ran a taller car, which now is standard. Almost all of our cars are 2 inches taller in the back of the cage, so it's got like a wedge cage on it to get head clearance. So, I mean, and the safety bars, you know, that the cage supports are a lot safer now, and we made a lot of gains. I mean, this car we're looking at is pretty much the exact same car from probably 1980, 1970. Steering arms, torsion bar suspension, the whole 9 yards. Everything is just machined now. You know, Jim Bob machined it on his mill back in the day and built your steering arms. Now you go down to All-Star and buy it.
Yeah.
Your guys' discipline is interesting. I never thought about that, about how it hasn't changed much.
I mean, it really hasn't.
It really hasn't. Yeah, it's just kind of upgraded. It hasn't changed. It's just been like new. Like
because
a newer version.
You look at like the F1 cars 20 years ago compared to now, like how much bigger they are now, and then and even like a late model, like the totally different.
Yeah, and
than they
I
did
mean
25 years ago.
I believe the first sprint car weight rule was 2001 or 2, maybe 4 or 5, and it was 1175.
So what is it now?
1425.
Okay. I don't even know how we could get to 1175.
There's no way. It'd be impossible. You'd have to take body panels off. You have to run thinner wall tubing. Our wheels are heavier.
I think it all comes into it's all in the motor area too, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean,
we make
we're
200 more horsepower, I'd say.
For sure, yeah.
The pistons are beefier, valves are bigger.
Everything's beefier. And I think, it comes down to how much you want to lighten up in that area. But at the same token, like, we have way more compression now, they're way more violent, and shit just breaks. So, I mean, that's at what point, how light do you go? I mean, cranks are, I think our motor actually weighs they're anywhere from like 375 to 400 pounds or something like that. So they're super light to begin with. But I mean, I think that's honestly where most of you can cut your weight. But I mean, how much do you want to go? And that cuts down on longevity. I mean, you're going to have to rebuild them sooner and all that stuff. So that's a lot of things you have to look into. But yeah, it's hard to really get back. I mean, our cars are all carbon, all titanium. We cut everything we can, and we're still 40 pounds.
I don't think a lot of like casual. I didn't until I went to your shop, Gio, realized how small the actual car is. You know,
I mean, what
I was
really,
trying to explain this to my dad the other night, and I'm going to bring him to your shop sometime and show it to him. But I don't think most fans can gather how small it is.
And what's crazy is when we're gone for a month, there's not much left in the shop. I mean, our semis, every single piece of cabinet space, everything is utilized. There's shit in there I don't even know we have. I mean, there's so much space. When we leave, the mule's gone, car's gone. You might have 2 or 3 frames sitting there, maybe a motor if you got a leftover one, some tires, wheels, old torsion bars, torsion arms, wings, rear ends. But when you leave for a month or 2, you got 4 rear ends, 3 wings, maybe one that's not built up there, 2 complete cars upstairs. So you carry 3 cars. We can carry 5 engines. We really, unless you junk all your shit, you don't really need to go home. And if you're junking all your shit, your driver's probably not feeling too good the next day. So, the cars, like you said, they really, like, you look at F1, like you said, from 2000 to now, they're huge. Our wheelbase hasn't changed. An 88 or 8740 has been the wheelbase for forever,
standard
as
for
far
a long time
from the modern sprint car. So, I mean, nothing has really changed. They've gotten safer. The seats have gotten heavier. Half the guys ran half back seats back in the day. So, I mean, and
they used to Zeus button them in.
Yeah. Which is insane.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, it is insane. I mean, and now, like, you can't run aluminum Nerf bars. All that stuff has gotten stronger. And back then, like, Donnie Schatz, Tony Stewart Racing, I remember when I was little, they'd be servicing the car, changing all the Heim joints. I'm like, why are you changing the Heim joints? Donnie, you didn't crash. It's like, well, it's cheaper for us to replace them than to have a part failure on the racetrack. It saves us, in the long run. So they would spend a little bit more money to change those Heim joints, put new radius rods on, maybe new birdcage bearing and stuff like that to not have a failure later. I mean, we run rear ends that are $2,500 a piece now with all titanium, almost $3,000 a piece. We run them 18 and 20 nights and then sell them to a lower team. So I think, on topic of 360 racing as well, like the steel block 360 racing, which doesn't affect us any, but is so outdated. It's so stupid. But coming from California, 360 racing really isn't any different than 410 racing. California is its own beast. You have all the guys run SCCT that run NARC. There's no difference. I mean, at Chico, there at Tulare, the 360s qualified faster than the 410s did. So you watch a car on racetrack, you can't tell the difference in the speed. So you got guys that run 2 cars half the time. So with World Racing Group acquiring ASCS, it sucks that doesn't suck. It kind of sucks. It's becoming a sort of a feeder series because I don't view 360s as any really less than 410s. I mean, they cost the exact same amount of money. You go order a brand new 360 from Ryder, it's $65,000.
Well, I just seen somebody was selling a 360 on the internet, and they wanted $40,000 for it. A used one. Like, that's what you're getting for a used 410 motor.
And you race for $3,000 a night. Yeah, compared to $12,000.
Yeah, why would you do it? I guess is it
360. I mean, 360s are a bit easier to drive. They're slower. You there's no way anyone could go. I mean, you made the step. So did I. From micros to 360s, it's a massive step. You're going from a 800-pound race car with 140 horsepower to a 1,500-pound race car with 700 horsepower. Feels like you're driving a fucking semi around a racetrack that wants to wheelie. Like it's a huge step, and that's where midgets and stuff come in. But when you make that step, it's you never think you're going to catch up to it. No. And then, hey, here's a 410, and you're like, it's like Star Wars when he hits fucking warp speed. It's like the lights are going by. Like Dominic ran Port Royal for the first time, and he's like, "How'd you feel?" He's like, "I have no fucking clue." He's like, "I was just trying to go around the racetrack, not hit anything." And now you've been racing long enough where it's like you could eat a sandwich while you're going around the racetrack. So
my first sprint car race was at Selinsgrove
in a 358 or.
Yeah, 358.
Yeah,
but still,
360.
They still make the same. They're 680 in horsepower. So
from a micro.
From a micro.
was it like fucking you're gonna die?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I better start in the back, we'll feel it out. And they're like, hey, when you go down the straightaway, you're gonna feel bad air. Like you're not gonna be you're gonna learn something here. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, bad air, cool, whatever. I go in the corner and that fucker went straight to the wall on the right front. And I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like we're flipping.
Yep.
Speaking of that, the Chase Randall wreck.
That was pretty big.
That was
big.
That was the scary one. I happened to be watching that one live, and that was just I don't know, like, how do you guys view it when you watch a wreck like that? Have you guys been in one like comparable to that? I know you've both been in big.
I haven't
ones.
been in something like I haven't been on fire, fortunately.
God damn.
Like been in some big ones, but he's pretty lucky that he wasn't knocked out. Let's just put it that way, because the way it came up, he got out of it pretty quick. But
Aiden, pull up Scott Reister from KCCI. He tweeted this out. I want to show it to our audience who maybe haven't seen it. It's Chase Randall's wreck from last Saturday night at Knoxville. Gio, what's the worst one you've been in that you can describe?
Oh, Wichita was pretty bad.
That was just not that long ago.
No, it wasn't. Luckily I wasn't hurt. I was a little bit confused what happened exactly. Watching the video and stuff, and he almost smoked me, which he didn't. I feel like sometimes getting hit after a crash, or when you're sitting there like a crab, you can't go nowhere. I mean, you're getting smoked by a car going by. But before we watch Randall's crash, I feel like as soon as he hit in the rear axle brakes, so your rear arms are broken. So when guys get their asses hit and break their backs, when your rear arms break, there's nothing holding the rear end in there. So what's really bad if the housing goes outside the torsion tubes, the torque tube comes out of the torque ball, then it's a wrecking ball blowing your ankles apart. So, there's torque tube ties, there's blocks you can put in, but in the end, we all know what we're signing up for when you get in the car. And all that stuff does is make the car heavier. So at what point, okay, we make these cars 1,600 pounds. There's fire extinguishers on them now. We're talking about putting compressors in the bleeders. Like, it's going to cost more and it's going to weigh more. So at what point is the tubing thickness not heavy enough? I mean, you crash a car like look at Buddy's crash. Yeah, you hit the fence head on, damn near wide open, but the things you want it to bend though. Mm-hmm. You strengthen these cars enough where oh my god, the thing disintegrated when it crashed. Yeah, but that absorbed all the energy, not my driver's brain. Yep. So there's a fine line between making these cars safer. Like you said, they haven't changed a whole lot, but that's why sprint car racing is as cool as it is.
Let's take a look at it. Aiden's got this thing pulled up. This is from last Saturday night at Knoxville. Fire that was really.
So him coming in the corner, he's completely wide open here.
Yep. And I mean, he was already committed up. So I mean, at the end of the day, people were probably saying, why couldn't he just turn off?
Yeah.
But I mean, when you roll into the corner, I mean, that stuff happens so fast in 410 racing, even 360 or whatever. But he's fully committed, and we've all been in that situation. But he's sliding, Zomer's sliding down low, and then all of a sudden he's coming up, and he right now he's already entering the corner, and he's committed. And then
you turn right, you hit the fence.
He did everything he could do there to try to miss. And I feel like him turning sideways probably was the better outcome, because Zomer's in a very vulnerable spot there.
Yeah. And the thing about this,
not just Randall, but Zomer's sitting there sideways, driver's side first, and watching him come straight at him. So, Chase did the right move there to try and get as far away from the driver compartment that he could.
Well, and then he comes out and qualifies really well last night at Eagle. I mean, so first of all, that wreck, I've seen worse looking wrecks. It was the fire that was so,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good wreck. It was a pretty violent crash, but the fire is what made it look even worse. But yeah, I mean,
when you do that, when you're in one of those, you're Wichita. Does it linger mentally?
No. I'm more upset that I junked a race car, and you're more mad at the result. If you're not hurt, you're my man, and my race is over.
See, if I shank a golf ball right, it's in my head the rest of the round, I'm done.
Me too. With golf,
yeah, with golf for sure.
What about if the club doesn't go slinging into the trees?
I was just impressed. I watched it. I don't know if he ran at Husets, I guess, if on Sunday, whatever.
I don't think so.
No, he took off.
Okay, well then I watched him at Eagle, and he qualifies well, and he won the heat, and I'm like, man, he recovered from that pretty well.
I mean, when you're young, you don't really care. Shouldn't say you don't care, but
how old is he? He's really young.
I think he's 19.
Or maybe 20.
20.
Yeah.
It don't hurt as bad when you're that young.
Yeah.
33.
I felt better after Wichita. My neck was hurting before, and I fixed myself, so I can be a chiropractor service.
Chiropractor.
Exactly.
Just go out there and just drive into something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are all fucking crazy.
What's even crazier is, I'm sure it's happened to you. you're riding around the racetrack, your car's not very good. You hit the wall on accident, break something in the rear suspension, and you get faster.
Yeah.
It's happened before. I mean, the Jacob's ladder is about all that holds his rear ends in the car, and you hit it, knock a strap off or bend it and bind the rear tires up and go forward. Rico Aber last year at Lincoln hit the fence, smashed a ladder a little bit and won the race.
Yep.
So that's what's cool. You see an F1 car, Indy car touch anything and it just disintegrates, like, which is what their stuff's built to do. But for us, you can take a pretty good impact with something with a sprint car and have the front axle bent a bit. Your steering wheel might be cocked a little bit, but you can finish a race, you know.
I wanted to ask you about being your own crew chief now. I mean, how much more thinking do you have to do on a nightly basis? How much has it changed you, Brock, now that you got both? Because that's pretty rare, right? I mean, how many guys are doing both?
Well, it's hard. It's pretty rare, I think, on doing it on the road.
I think Logan is damn near the only other one
Logan's
that
about the
makes
only
his own
one, I
calls.
think,
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he did that.
Schuhart does, yeah.
Brent does. I mean, you know, Brent's been really good at it. Logan's been doing it for a while too, and there really isn't that many guys that do it. And you know, it's not just me making the decision. You know, I have Mike, and you know, I try to involve everybody on the team. You know, everybody has an opinion, and they deserve it. But you know, at the end of the day, it's my ass in the seat, so I'll make the final decision. But you know, I try to listen to what, you know, I might not be able to see something. Obviously, I can't see it because I'm in the car, but you know, I feel something, but maybe it looks different on the racetrack. So you know, they can give their input, and normally one guy's over in one corner and one's in the other, and they kind of just give input back and forth, and we kind of just discuss. I mean, it's not just it's a team sport. So you know, at the end of the day, it's different where, you know, he's got Adam making the decisions all the time. It's just you and Adam talking, but it's different. So it's, you know, it's obviously harder. But at the end of the day, I control my own destiny. We were just talking about this the other day. It's like, you know, having a crew chief's nice, and being your own crew chief, it can be really nice, but at the end of the day, it can be kind of difficult too.
Do you find yourself learning as a crew chief? I mean, because you learn as a driver, right? And you've developed since 2017. Do you feel like a rookie as a crew chief, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we've gotten a lot better since Eldora, since when we kind of parted ways and we're doing our own thing there. And, you know, our car's gotten a lot better. There's, you know, sometimes it's hard to explain what you feel in the race car, because our tires are shit. You know, there's a lot of things that go into it where you can't really feel your car right. So it's
you're not just tight or you're loose.
No, not anymore.
No, you're honestly either stuck or you're not.
Yeah.
That's how it seems to be.
And it comes down, you know, that sounds like it's easy to feel, but if you're stuck, your car almost feels numb. So your car really don't move much, but it's hard to feel that sometimes. So it's hard to explain to somebody what you feel exactly and put it in the right words for them to understand. Whereas you can just be like, okay, I feel like I'm stuck, you know, so here's how we need to fix it. You know, that's the difference there. I feel like sometimes it's nicer, but at the end of the night, like when we're in the open red, I don't want to have to sit there and be like, what can I do to fix this fucking thing? I just want to be like, I'm fucking tight here, fix it, you know? Because when you're in race mode, when I'm in the car, I'm a whole different person, you know, and you're the same way. We're all different. Like,
I thought about
I'm pissed off. I'm yelling, you know what I mean? I'm doing all kinds of shit. Like when we weren't really that good in Ogilvie. I mean, we were good up into the dash. We tried something, we weren't great. And the feature, we were too stuck. So we had that. I was praying for that open red. And I come out and, you know, I'm yelling and doing all kinds of shit, and they're getting mad. And it's like, I just want to be able to just say, here's what I feel, fix it. Let me go race this thing. That's part of the times where it feels like, you know, it'd be nice to have a crew chief, but you know, at the end of the day, we're getting better, and we're racing where we need to be now. We're making dashes and running up front where I feel like we should have been probably 3 years ago. So, yeah, it's difficult, but you know, I told the guys now, because we're all kind of frustrated. I feel like we haven't really put a full night together. We're getting better throughout the night. We're timing better. We're putting ourselves in a good spot. And I tell these guys this, it's like we're racing with the guys that don't fuck up, you know, and that's where it's at. These guys are on kill, on spot, a spot on every night. They don't mess up, and we're just messing up just that little bit, and it shows. So
speaking of that, a little bit of a door opening with Gravel.
No doubt.
He's had a few off nights. Like,
yeah, I mean,
this thing's getting a little bit interesting now.
Yeah, I mean, you could call this season, I feel like, Gravel's to lose almost. I mean, the 41 car started off like shit. He's fast now. He's right in the points hunt. You know, Gravel has won 8 races, I think, and and crashed 2 or 3 of them. I think he has almost 2 or 3 DNFs. So, you know, those guys, they expect to win, and that's how their aura is. And it should be every night, but your lows, you can't want to murder people or actually murder people. So, it's easy to get frustrated when, you know, they've been together, I think, for 4 years now with Big Game and Cody Jacobs and Gravel and stuff. And they have a great operation with as you know, much resources as they can possibly use. So, you can't buy success. I think that's the biggest way of looking at it. And you look at Tony Stewart Racing, the dynasties, the Carl Kinzers, the Casey Kane Racings with Brad Sweet now. I think those guys have been together for 5-6 years, and they work on the race car without even talking to each other. It's like clockwork. I mean, Bob, my car chief, is new this year, and we had a steering pump issue, and our couple of sponsors were around the car. They didn't even know anything was wrong. Adam's in the cockpit, Bob's on the right side. They're changing steering pumps, and they're just kind of, hey, how's it going? And I'm stressed out, obviously, because the steering pump just stripped. But they work in such harmony, and they know all their jobs. And I think that the formula to a sprint car team is crew chief, car chief, tire guy. That's how it's worked forever. 3 full-time crew guys. And when you get that chemistry between the 3 of them, and they live together damn near on the road, and even sometimes at home. So when they get the time at home, it definitely gets them to recharge and come back and want to work on the race car, and they all love doing it. That's what I think people sometimes forget, and we forget too, is it's a passion. Yes, it's a job, but you know, it's what we do for a living, and we're lucky that we get to race for a living, because it's better than fixing refrigeration units, I assume. No, so, but yeah, I mean, and to the crew chief thing, you can have a very bad relationship with the crew chief too. And when you come in and it's immediately, well, you didn't drive it right. Well, this thing's a pile of shit. Well, it won't turn. Like,
it doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. And sometimes you can have those constructive conversations, because I try to come in the pits, take my suit off, have a drink of water, and then come and talk. Because if I am talking to you from the time I get out of the car to the trailer, it's probably dumb shit that I don't mean, and I'm yelling at something, and then he's mad and he's like, well, you fucking yelled at me. Well, you drive this piece of shit, you know? So
funny, Brock. I'm taking my dad on Friday to Knoxville, and we were going to go into the pits and just hang with Gio. And I was like, Dad, I want you to like him. So we'll go and see him after the races.
I think the moral of the story there is just let him go up there and cool down and come back.
Don't sit in the lounge.
Like it.
Well,
that's the line of fire.
I tell you, boys, being an old pit reporter, I mean, I've been
you probably got in the way a few times.
I've been in the way a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of F-bombs dropped to me. I've been in the middle of a couple fights. Yeah. Like, yeah, I get it. And
I know sometimes them guys, they just feel like they come at you at the wrong time, and it's just like, why the fuck did you say that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, give you a fucking smart ass answer.
Yep.
I did this once. It was the old weekly track from back home that I used to announce at, and there was a really bad rollover in the hobby stocks. Okay. And points leader, it was a big story, like, you know, and I'm 17, whatever I am. And I went right up and I shoved the mic. He climbed out of the car and I put the mic in his face, and he dropped every motherfucking F-bomb. There's just kids all over.
Interviews are the best.
He's the best. Shout out to my guy, Les Elliott. If anybody's out there, Les will probably be paying attention to this. But no, I get it. But I'll say this as like a fan, that's what we want. We want the real reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why these series have got more popular. Drive to Survive, Road to Indy.
Yeah.
NASCAR, I think, is done one or is doing
NASCAR,
one.
There's like a fight every weekend now.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, the first ever televised NASCAR event, there was a fight. I'm pretty sure. That's what made it so popular.
That Daytona 500, 78.
Yep.
The Allisons.
And I mean, like, now, obviously, you don't want to go over and punch someone, because there's so much more. You can't, I mean, just the world is different nowadays, I feel like. And you can't, as much as you want to go fight someone, you got to remember that, you know, your partner's names are on your chest. And when you represent them, when you go punch someone, do something stupid, even though they might love it, you know, depending who sponsors you or not. But corporate people don't like that. And it's just
on that note, now that I have a couple sprint car guys with me, because I was on Twitter and I tweeted
I know where this is going.
the Ricky. I said I'd pay good money to watch anybody whoop Kyle Busch's ass, is what I said. So all these people come back to me like, oh, Ricky, all these people have no idea about dirt racing at all. And they're like, oh, he's so small, he's not going to do anything. And my response was, that's probably the last guy in the garage that I think I'd want to pick a fight with.
No doubt.
In NASCAR, right?
No doubt.
Were you surprised? I mean, you guys are his colleagues. You've raced him. That he just went up and jacked Kyle Busch like that?
I don't know. I mean, obviously there's some tension there. Yeah, so
well, that's what I thought. This is 20 years.
But I feel like NASCAR is kind of, I think they're being a little more lenient on it. They're trying to get, fans back engaged with it. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good for the fans. I mean,
if I'm going to take the time after a race to walk over in your trailer, you got to be ready to fight.
And he's just lounging.
You're not
there.
going to go yell at him or do something like, if you want to get your point across, like I feel like if you want to talk to him the next night when everyone's cooled down, say that was fucking bullshit. Why'd you do that? But if you're angry, going to walk into someone's trailer, you got to be ready to fucking get tackled.
I feel like it kind of goes both ways. Like with us, if I'm coming back to my trailer and I see you standing there at my trailer right after the race,
let's go.
I'm ready to fight.
Yeah, seriously, like
because I know why you're there.
Yeah. See, I think like
that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
When Gravel walked across the track to Buddy, I watched the whole thing. I was sitting in turn 2. I saw him walk across the pits, and Carlton ran over him on the scooter and tried to stop him. And like, I feel like your natural reaction, if I was Buddy, would be to get out.
Yeah.
Like if someone's trotting to me, fucking okay, let's go. Like I'll have time to get back in the car. They're not going to go without me. Yeah. Like it just like your fight or flight instinct in that aspect. Yep. You're ready to fight. Like, I don't want my helmet on because it weighs 5 pounds. So you can just grab your helmet and drag him to the ground. Like, let's go. If we're going to fight, let's fight. And then after that, I'd probably feel better. Hey, fuck you. I don't like you. Move on.
So I normally just pull my steering wheel off and ready to shove it right
there
in
you
the
go.
chest when I come over. Because you can't move in there.
No,
we're so contained.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna get smashed.
He's got the better, he's got the better angle.
I like the guys that throw the punch with the helmet on. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Safety first.
Yeah. Football players do that all the time too. It's like, what are you trying to break your hand?
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
Yep.
The fighting thing though. So I am curious because the Outlaws is a pretty tight knit group. Like, but you're not all like friends because you're competitors, but there's like a level of respect, right?
For sure there is.
Like you guys can't, you're together you're traveling all over the road together. You're helping each other with flat tire. The one thing that blows my mind, it was when Gravel got into trouble the other night and Macedo's team, I see all these Outlaw jerseys helping get that car back on the track. They're first and second in points. And I'm like, no other sport do you see that. So, there is a level of, I don't know if maybe we should be all like fighting each other.
Yeah. When you race that much together, there's only really 10 of us, 12 of us out there now. I feel like.
But you're also going to wreck each other.
You are.
Yeah.
You're bound to run into each other at some point.
You run 100 times a year, it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah. And I think the level of respect is if you do go wad someone up or if it happens to you, if they did it on purpose, you normally have some shit go on in the race before that where you're wheeling each other and he just comes and wipes you out or vice versa. So you know if it's blatant or not normally, and you can tell by the driver's reaction whether they're clueless and they didn't really mean to, or you got one coming for you.
Yeah. Aiden, pull up another one. This is Flow Racing on Twitter, and this is from Saturday night. It's Scott Bloomquist getting wrecked at the Dream.
That was massive. That was
huge rollover, and I'm old school late model. Like I traveled all over the country with my uncles. We just followed the summer nationals back in the 90s. Bloomquist, Moyer, all those guys. So I was like all amped up that Bloomer was, I think he was like on the pole at his heat or like something.
When he just said, didn't he say before the race or something?
He called a shot.
Yeah, we're going to win the heat race. We're going to start on the front. We're going to win the race.
And I had all these people tweeting at me like, Williams, your guy. Because I'm old school. Like I'm still like wearing my 21 hat, my Moyer hat, right? Like, and what triggered me to think about this, Gio, was when you said, if it's on purpose or not. Because when I watch this, and again, Aiden's going to get this pulled up, and y'all can watch it if you're watching us on YouTube here on Scelzi Says, which you can find that at Always Race Days where we put these things. So it's Always Race Day. There's got like 5,000 followers or something. So a lot of good traction there. Bloomquist gets on top of the trailer and does his interview with Flo and just calls out Shannon Babb, who he's been racing with for 30 years, and basically accuses him of like doing it on purpose. And I thought Bloomer ran up on him.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that wreck? What did you think of it? Aiden's going to pull it up for you.
It's hard to say.
How do you know that without looking back at it?
You can't see anything in those cars. The visibility is probably worse than ours. I feel like when you're on the outside of them, you're hiked up off the left rear, so you're probably looking at the racetrack. You can't, and those guys almost have a sixth sense, kind of like we do. I feel like more so than we do.
Oh, for sure.
If a guy's getting around the outside, they'll leave a lane to wedge your way in there. So it's not just, hey, I'm sliding the top, get out of the way, because you probably can't stop quite as good in those things. But I want to watch it again so I can get a good view of it.
Yeah, that was at Eldora from over the weekend. Sorry, Aiden, I just threw that. Flow Racing's probably had like 60 tweets since then.
I can't find it.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you right now. I can pull it up because I know I retweeted it the other day. But I guess like that's my as far as knowing whose fault it is, because when I watch these things, it's like I don't know how these guys get it. Do you just assume? Does any driver ever just assume, yeah, I screwed up there, or is it always somebody else?
Well, I don't know. I feel like in sprint car racing, like when you pull a slider, you know if it's going to be good or not.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it all depends on whether you like the guy or not, and that's good that you're throwing a slider on, or if you just don't really give a shit. But
I mean, look at Donnie Schatz. How many times do you see Donnie Schatz in an altercation on the racetrack? Never. You know, if he's going to pass you, he's probably going to drive by you, and if you're going to pass him, you're probably going to drive by him. Yep. It's just how they race and how they've raced forever. And I think the level, like Sammy, slamming Sammy, he always runs into you when he drives by you. Like, it's just how he is. You know, those guys back in the day, I feel like Steve Kinzer raced differently, and you know, the racing was different back then, and those guys have respect for each other too. But the younger crowd, younger level of drivers has changed that too. I feel like, I mean, you started racing when you were what, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I started when I was 5. So it's already his generation. It's already, I'm starting younger than he is. So you're in a midget at 14, 15, sprint car when you're at 15, you can race the Outlaws at 16. So I've raced since I was 16. That's 8 years in sprint cars.
We got it. Let's see. This is from the Dream via Flow Racing.
Flow Racing Instagram.
So there you got Bab going into the corner. Bloomer goes underneath.
I don't know. I feel like he was already coming down to protect. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Like he got up and he was up in the shit and he was coming down.
He's hanging a left right there.
Yeah. He was already coming down to protect right there.
Bloom's coming up. He's coming down. It's just kind of a...
I don't know. I mean, it might be a little bit.
I just thought it was bad luck for Bloomer.
Yeah.
But he was pissed.
I wonder what the laps were like leading up to that, if they've been sliding each other already.
Yeah, I guess, you know, it all comes out to what happened before.
Which surprised me, because I've been watching Bab. He's a Midwest guy forever, and he's not a hothead by any means. No. And I was thinking to myself watching it, is that like a deal where Bloomer, like, he's probably just he's had X amount of run-ins with this guy over 20 years, and or because I thought it would be the other way, like the old guys are kind of protecting each other. You know what I mean?
I mean, obviously, he probably felt like he was done wrong. You know, I mean, we've all felt that way, where it's just a racing deal. But
well, it pissed me off because I was wanting the no weak links, man.
Yep,
Bloomquist is a legend.
He is, and I feel like in that situation, I don't know what their format is, but for us, Kings Royal, your heat race win puts you on the first 6 spots. Yeah. So if you're going to do that and wad somebody up, you're going to cause a yellow or a red. So do you want the guy in 3rd to have a shot at you?
Yeah.
So is it better maybe to just race him and kind of take his air and move him out of the way and get away from him? Or do you want to wad him up and cause a yellow and get all those guys behind you to catch up to you?
All right. Last thing for me, and we'll get going. Can we do something about the high limit wheel?
You're asking the wrong guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I was so confused. I thought you should have been in the dash. I didn't know like their format, and like I get it now. It makes sense. That I hadn't watched that wheel very much. It's very confusing. Like it's very confusing. Like
if you draw the 0, you win, but if the double 0 beats it, and then if you tie, you make the B main.
I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like with their brand, and like I understand it, but it was very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we probably understand a little more just because we watched it or been involved in it. But yeah, it can be confusing at first.
I was again. So Aiden, my producer, he's waiting to stay. He's waiting for his apartment to come open, so he's staying at my house for just a few weeks. And I was the other night. I was all excited. Last night, I'm like, yeah, I used to announce at this track, and Gio's there, and we're gonna watch this race. He doesn't know shit about this stuff. Like and I'm in all these things about our sport. Trying to explain it to a guy who's never watched it is
but he's been to Eldora. Not the right Eldora.
Not the right Eldora. He's been to Eldora, Iowa.
I ask all these questions. He's like, are you seriously asking that? You're just being a dick. I'm like, no, I don't know anything about it.
No, but like, it's very confusing. And then like, I try and like, oh, a new friend, like NASCAR has a playoff. How does that work? Well, you acquire points throughout stages throughout the year. And it's so confusing to these people.
But if you win, you're in. But if there's more winners than there are spots, you're not in. It's like, what? How do I get in?
Yeah, I feel like the points deal should just be fucking heads up.
Yeah.
Best man fucking wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to figure it out. This dash shit, you know.
What I hate too is
just simplify it.
Yeah. Oh, I was so like, and I watch this all the time. Okay. I'm watching 10 to 15 races every week. And I was perplexed. I was like, oh, when's Gio going to get to spin the wheel?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute. Where the hell is he at? Like it's maddening to me.
Something that I think, us being on the inside forget sometimes is that I'd say probably 60% of the fans are not living it and watching everything like we are. They roll down just to watch a race. Hey, good job, man. You had a great night.
Their buddy at work's like, oh, yeah, the pros are coming to town tonight. You got to come out with me.
Exactly.
Well, I think another thing that kind of goes with what you're saying is I think 90% of the fans that do the dice roll have no idea what the fuck it is.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
And I mean, if like you pay attention, like we know what it is.
Yeah.
And if you watch it often, you know what, like you know what it is. And I think only one person knew.
Yeah.
So far this year on that deal, it's just it's kind of amazing, honestly. But
in marketing, we tend to overthink things sometimes.
But I don't know if that means are we having new fans in engaging in the racing, or is it just? I'm telling you, where you're new. Confusing.
I think a lot of your new fans are streaming. I mean, I truly do. I think that you got a lot of people who used to be casual fans who, for one reason, maybe can't afford it, or they have. I was telling Brock, like, there's so many races that I give anything to go to, but I just can't. I have 2 daughters under the age of 10, like I in jobs, and I am so much bigger of a fan now because I can watch you guys on a nightly basis, and we got to find a way to tap into those people more. And like, I would pay more money. I mean, Flow charging $12 a month is awesome because it's only 12. It's criminal. Like I would pay $100 to Dirt Vision just to be able to watch every Outlaws race because it's so much better of a deal for me. But like, I don't know how many people would drop off if you started to do that. I have no idea. But
I mean, but the days of okay, races are on at 8 o'clock on live TV. I gotta watch it. You know, it just no one can do that anymore. Like I think drag racing again. I always go back to drag racing is missing the boat. I know their structure is the way it is, but first round's 11 a.m. Eastern time. It comes on live at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I actually didn't look at Twitter purposely because I didn't want to know who won. I wanted to watch it. So I make fun of people doing that, but I did the same thing. I mean, you open Twitter, you're going to see who you follow, who won the race, but they specifically tell them don't tweet results right away because the live race comes on.
If any of our friends at Flow are watching, let me give you a tip. Dirt Vision does this better than Flow, where I can flip onto Dirt Vision and I won't see who won, where I can go and find the feature and click it. When I go onto Flow, it'll be like just audio, like, Brock Zearfoss in victory lane. It's like, God damn it. Like I was trying to avoid that. Just let me click on the feature.
Just click the feature and watch it. Yeah.
Well, this was fun. Best of luck this weekend to both of you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
And then we're going to be in on Saturday morning, right? You've got a real treat for us.
Yeah. You want me to spill the beans? Or
let's tease it.
Dave and Dale Blaney are coming on. So they're here for the NASCAR race. They're doing something that, I don't know if it's at Newton or at Knoxville. Something around, I know Ryan's obviously racing in Newton, but they got some Hall of Fame induction or some announcement they're going to make. So Dave and Dale are going to come in the studio the weekend.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
that'll be great. I'm fired up. All racing all weekend for me, other than a little bit of little girls dance recital.
Yeah,
mixed in at some point.
Break it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Brock, this was cool, man. You made a fan of me. I'll be buying a shirt coming up. I'm gonna find you tomorrow.
We'll be there.
Looking forward to that. Friday and Saturday.
2 days yet.
Get out to Knoxville to cheer these guys on. All right, Gio, we'll be back on Saturday. Brock Zearfoss joining us. Thanks for watching, listening, subscribe wherever you're paying attention to this at. We appreciate everything. We'll see you guys at the track this weekend.